Okay, let's talk about Seachem Prime. I tried to find a newer bottle, but this one was a little faded, and but you all know what Prime is, right? You know what it looks like. What's Prime? Why is it so popular that every water conditioner is generically referred to as Prime? If someone's wanting to know if you've got water conditioners, they say, "Hey, you got any Prime?" Let's look at it. So we've got a couple different things to look at. We've got what is actually out there that is on Seachem's website. Did they actually tell you? Seachem's who makes Prime, by the way. But what do they actually tell you? And then there's the hidden stuff that they don't tell you. That's you can find it if you look. It takes some digging, and we've done the digging for you. So let's start off with what Seachem tells you, what's on their website, and what's out there right in front of you. So on the bottle's a lot of good information, dosing instructions, how to transport it, that type of stuff. So, like they say, it's a complete concentrated water conditioner right here on the bottle for both fresh and salt water. So you can use it fresh, salt, brackish, all your tanks. Good for Prime. It removes chlorine and chloramines, detoxifies ammonia, coming right off the bottle here. It converts ammonia into a safe, non-toxic form that's removed by the tank's biofilter. So let's break that down. So it turns the ammonia into a safe, non-toxic form that's removed by the tank's biofilter. So your beneficial bacteria actually eat the ammonia in the long run. We'll dig more into how it breaks it down, or how it makes it a, what do they call it? Safe, non-toxic form. We'll dig into that a little bit later. Prime can be used during tank cycling to alleviate ammonia, nitrite toxicity. Prime detoxifies nitrite and nitrate, allowing the biofilter to be more efficient and remove them. And an interesting fact found on Seachem's website, they admit that they don't know how it gets rid of the nitrate. But they're sure that it does because customers tell them that it does. And let's go back to the label. It also detoxifies heavy metals found in tap water and to a typical concentration. Prime is non-acidic and will not impact pH. It won't overactivate skimmers used when starting up or replacing water. Then they advertise some other chemicals that they make that they would like you to use also. Dosing on Prime, a lot of people do a lot of overdosing, which Seachem says some overdosing is okay, says that you can double dose with no problems, and you can go up to 5 times the dosage recommendations in emergency situations. But they typically say like 1 cap full for 50 gallons or 100 gallons, depending on the size of the cap. But 5 milliliters will treat 500 milliliters of Prime will treat 200 liters of water, well, that's 50 gallons. So if you break that down, it's like a teaspoon of Prime per a 50-gallon tank, or 1 milliliter of Prime for a 10-gallon tank. So that's where your little pipettes with the 1 milliliter markers can come in handy. You can add it directly to your aquarium. You can add it directly to new water. It says on the bottle here, if you're dosing directly to the aquarium, dose for the entire tank amount, not just what you're replacing in water. It says the sulfur odor is normal. On the label, sulfur odor is normal. So it has a smell, but it's normal. They don't tell you on the label why, but we'll get into that in a minute. And this is where they go into You can double dose if you have high chlorine or ammonia, and you can go up to 5 times if you got really bad nitrites. And if temperature is greater than 30 degrees Celsius or 86 Fahrenheit, and chlorine or ammonia levels are low, use it half dose. So if your tank is above 86, you might not need as much of this stuff. And then it's got all that in other languages here. I'm not going to read all that. If you speak those other languages, you're probably not listening to me right now. Okay. From Seachem's website, some of the frequently asked questions is, does Prime expire? No. You store it properly and it's good. Seachem suggests keeping it in an opaque bottle. And I don't know if I mentioned the little black specks are normal. That's what Seachem says. But let's go a little deeper into what we had to dig out of the back aisles and places that aren't very easy to find. First, Seachem has 2 main primary active ingredients. The first is sodium dithionate, which is a white crystalline compound, and that's where your sulfur smell comes from. This chemical, it's used for textiles, laundry, leather processing, photography, all that outside of the aquarium industry. And because it can have a bleaching effect on fabrics, be careful not to get it on your clothes. So if you've ever used Prime and noticed bleach spots on your clothes later and thinking you're screwing up your laundry, maybe not. It could be from getting Prime on your hands and then wiping your hands on your clothes or spilling some Prime on your clothes. I experienced this personally and could not figure out what I was doing wrong with my laundry, only to find out that Prime, my fish tanks, were bleaching my clothes. The second chemical is sodium bisulfite, which reacts with ammonia to make ammonium. So this is where we're talking about the ammonia becomes a non-toxic, safe chemical. That's what it does. It turns the ammonia into ammonium, which isn't as toxic for your fish, and allows the bacteria to actually process it in time. Outside of the aquarium industry, this chemical is used for food preserving, wine making, and disinfecting. And through large quantities, can slightly acidify water, but if you're dumping that much Prime into your tank, you should expect the changes. The ammonia, which reacts with the sodium bisulfite to create ammonium bisulfite, and nitrite reacts with the nitrogen gas and the sodium bisulfite. And then the nitrate, it's not really understood how that works, but it's most likely, from what we can dig up, it follows a similar process, eventually converting the nitrate into nitrogen gas and other benign nitrogen compounds. And those little black specks that we mentioned earlier, they're a salt. They're part of the active ingredient, and if you shake them up, shake the bottle up, you won't notice them as much. And it's just part of the structure of the chemical that makes up Prime. That first chemical that we talked about, the sodium dithionate, if you remember back, or if you go back and look, years ago, I guess at this point, I made a video about homemaking your own water conditioner, and I used sodium thiosulfate. The sodium thiosulfate that I used is basically, in a really broken down version or way of thinking about it, it's the same stuff as this sodium dithionate. It's not the same stuff, but it works the same way for what Prime's doing and what I did with my my chemical. It neutralizes the chlorine, and when you neutralize the chlorine, if chlorine's all that your water has in it, you're good to go. Which, where I live, they only use chlorine. But in some other areas, they use chloramine. And chloramine is a combination of chlorine and ammonia. And that actually makes the chlorine stay together longer and actually work as the disinfectant, or the thing in the water that keeps the germs and stuff out of your tap water. It holds on longer because chlorine breaks down quickly. That's why you can like set a bucket of tap water with chlorine in it out, and the next day it's practically all gassed off. Chloramine doesn't gas off like that. It will take a month or more to gas off in the same conditions because the ammonia is binding it together and holding it stronger. So the sodium dithionate in Prime gets rid of the chlorine, and your chloramine is now reduced to ammonia. Well, you don't want that in your tank, so that's why they put the second chemical in there, the sodium bisulfite, which will turn the ammonia into ammonium, which is less toxic for your fish and gives your plants and your biological bacteria time to start breaking it all down. And in a nutshell, that's what makes Prime so great, is it is extra concentrated, so it doesn't take much to take care of the situation, and it cancels out your chlorine, your chloramines. It reduces your ammonia and your nitrite into stuff that's easier to manage. Your nitrate, even though they didn't intend for it to handle nitrate, it works with it somehow, and most likely with binding with nitrogen gas, or being reduced down to nitrogen gas and such. And it's easy to take from one place to the next. Like I use Prime when I travel to conventions and stuff. I don't use it here in my fish room, and I will tell you why on another video. So if you want to see why I don't use Prime here in the fish room, watch for that video. But when I go to conventions, to club meetings, to swaps, that type of thing, I take Prime with me because it doesn't take much. I can take a small bottle and treat everything I would need for the whole week, the weekend, whatever, through the convention, the swap, the meeting, whatever. So, did we cover everything that you want to know about Prime? If there's other things that you want to know about Prime, let me know, and I will find out an answer either directly through Seachem or by doing the deep dive into research and finding it out one way or the other. I'll do the legwork for you. Leave those in the comments if you have other questions about Prime, and what's your thoughts on Prime? What's your favorite water conditioner? I use a number of different water conditioners. Like I said, I don't use Prime here in the fish room, so you'll have to watch for that video to see why I don't use Prime here. And let's get the conversation started in the comments about Prime and water conditioners. So I'll see you next time.